G'day everyone, welcome one and all to another edition of Guvs Hero Review videos. We are continuing to take a look at our Hunters series, today looking at the 5-star legendary yellow hero, Zodiac, the Projectile Technique Master. So Zodiac is available for summons, as we saw really briefly there from the Monster Island portal, which rolls around once every 8 weeks. It is on an alternating monthly schedule with the other Alliance event, which is the Mechanoid Menace. So yeah, it's a four weekly time slot, and you got 2 events, so 2x4, once every 8 weeks. Zodiac himself is, as we said, brand new into PuzzleCombat in May/June 2024. It's kind of like on the edge of one and the start of the other. But the current edition of the Monster Island event at the time of this recording. So Monster Island first came into the game in February 2022, so we are a year and a bit, almost a year and a half after the event's initial release and those initial heroes in the portal. The portal itself, we can see the odds there. We do have a 1.2% chance to draw a legendary event hero. There are no featured or unfeatured odds, so our net odds for the portal are a little bit reduced compared to some of those portals that do have those odds, coming in at like 1% versus like 1.6 or 1.8%, depending on what portal you're looking at. If you were to put that in perspective, so if you did 100 summons in this portal across the portal's duration, there is a 70% probability of gaining any one of the random legendary event heroes. If you're going after a specific hero, those odds do drop down to 11.3% probability of drawing that specific hero that you're after. And also those odds are going to drop off further as more heroes are added to the portal, as seems to be the case. If we pause for a second, I'm going to flip over and we can take a look at his artwork. So I'll just pull it up to be ready for next time. All right, let's go. All right, so here is Zodiac's artwork. So we can see that he is he's titled the Projectile Technique Master. So he's obviously got some telekinetic Shuken and Kunai as the 2 projectile weapons that he's sort of mastered. As I said, telekinetically hovering around him, ready to fire them off at the enemies. He's got the dual katanas on his back as well, which is kind of his backup weapons, I guess. He's also got kind of like the Doctor Strange finger magics thing going on, where you twiddle your fingers and twitch them this way and that way in order to get the magic happening. But yeah, kind of an interesting hero. I think his artwork's kind of cool. It is a similar-ish kind of design to the ninja heroes that are in Empires and Puzzles, although it's not really a sprite match for any of them, but it's in that same sort of style. So it would be interesting to see if maybe Zodiac is a hero that's going to be added to that family down the track in Empires and Puzzles. So you'll have to just keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that's his artwork. Feel free to pause it if you wish. Otherwise, let's jump back across into the portal and we can take a look at the rest of his card. So, taking a look at the next part, we've got the family bonus. So he is a member of the Hunter family, which means that Zodiac does receive an increase in healing when there are multiple unique Hunter families in a team. Specifically for having 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique Hunters, they will each receive a plus 10, 15, 20, or 25% increase in healing. Emphasis there on the word unique. They do have to be different heroes. It can't be 2 copies of Zodiac. It's got to be 2 different ones, like combining Zodiac with Nomad or Barbie as 2 different examples. There is also a little thing that I will mention, is that I don't really like this family bonus. The Hunter family don't have any healers, so there's no like internal synergy. The closest you get is Barbie, and he's a heal for damage hero. Otherwise, there's not really any synergy on this family bonus in the game. I will also mention that there is a stat bonus for using the Monster Island heroes during the Monster Island event. So for bringing those heroes along, you gain a plus 4, 8, 12, 16, or 20% attack and defense stat bonus for having 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 unique heroes. The Hunter family also have a 20% chance to do a 1-turn silence and a 1-turn attack delay when you have them in that event. So again, these bonuses only apply during the Monster Island event battles. It doesn't occur any other format of the game. In terms of Zodiac's personal stats, we can see he comes in with 799 attack, 755 defense, and 1,392 HP. So there is a little bit of a skew there, going from the defense stat mostly towards that attack stat. The HP stat. towards the attack and defense. Most of that lands in the attack stat is where the predominant of the skew goes, but there is a little bit into that defense stat as well. So he does have reduced HP compared to what would be quote-unquote standard for a hero of his power. I will also mention his team power contribution is 737. The newest or the highest hero is, I think, Topaz with 742 is still the highest in the game at the moment, but also compared to the original Monster Island heroes who have just about 706 to 708 team power. So all that means, power is just a metric of their base stats. The more power they have, the more base stats they have to distribute. So Zodiac has more than, say, Accent, but less than someone like Topaz, for example. So his charge speed is set to 47, which is average speed and requires 11 tiles to charge, or 6 ghosted tiles. The speed break happens at speed 50, so it does just need a +3 speed improvement, which you can achieve using literally any of the yellow speed guns in the game. There's a 3-star gun which gives +3, there's a 4-star gun which is the Triss Vector and gives +7, and then there's also a 5-star gun which is the Ragnarok Vantage, which gives you a +6 speed improvement. The double speed break happens at speed 58, so you need a +11 speed improvement. So unfortunately, this isn't actually possible with yellow, given that there is no +9 speed weapon in the game. To do that, you would need a +9 gun with the 4% class charge generation node, but because yellow caps out at +7, there is actually no way to double break Zodiac. So because of that, the class node at +20 is of no relevance whatsoever. You can save your emblems or use them elsewhere without any loss on that front. On the topic of his charge, he is a member of the support class, which means that Zodiac is granted a chance to withstand negative status ailments and charge cuts. So the charge cut withstand is quite a good effect. It means that you're effectively granted blanket immunity, or the chance for blanket immunity against all charge control effects. You do not gain mindless attack or charge stop or charge slow on that because of the withstand of those ailments, but you also are able to withstand the charge cut from someone like Dragon Fist or Attk. So it is quite a useful talent. It is the inverse, I guess, of the recon talent, so you take damage but can withstand charge cut and ailments, but the recon talent, you avoid the damage but take the ailments. So yeah, just a little bit of a interesting reverso kind of thing there. By way of an actual emblem path, so let's jump across quickly to my roster and take a look at a support class hero. So essentially, I'd be doing pretty similar to what I've done here on Fungi Beats. So the idea is that I would be going on an attack path just to completely further his damage output, get it as high as possible. I personally go defense as my secondary. It's kind of a dealer's choice. You can take whichever you want. I went defense because that's just my personal preference, and it works better in terms of some of the war scoring and armor generation and minions and such that are on Zodiac. So that's pretty much the path I'd go. So I would be following the attack at each route, following it the whole way down to pick up attack stats wherever I can. You could go the +19 node, seeing as it is an attack bonus for emblems. It is quite a lot of emblems, 125 with a lot of resource cost as well. So as is the case for me, I haven't done it on Fungi Beats. You might choose to do so, but yeah, there's no need to go to +20 because, as I talked about before, that +20 node is of no relevance. So even though this says it's Fungi Beats, this is the path that I would follow for Zodiac. Alright, heading back across to the portal, and we can take a look at his special skill, which is titled Kunai Rush, and at level 10 skill and 47 charge speed, it will deal 220% damage to the target and an additional 220% damage against 4 random other or additional enemies. It will then reduce the charge of hit enemies by -12%, and then also apply a poison ailment to hit enemies, which deals 264 damage over 4 turns. This final effect does stack. So couple little interesting things in there. So we will start off with the damage component. So as always, when I break these damage things down, I do it on attack power rather than damage because it is a little bit of a simplification. It removes some of the variability from the comparison. So at the end of the day, attack power is analogous to their damage output anyway, so you end up with the same rankings essentially. So attack power is just a hero's attack stat multiplied by the percentage in their special skill. So before I dive into that though, I do want to go over my definition of Zodiac. So I class him as a hero that I call a multi-hitter. So multi-hitters are heroes that hit more than one enemy in the one cast of their skill. They're typically characterized by the fact that they hit random enemies. It's not a single target or a target nearby or anything like that. Usually their skills will read something to the effect of deals X damage to one target and then Y damage to random enemies. So a couple little things to note with this. So number one, it is a sequential execution of their skill. So it will always do the damage to the first target, then it will proc all of the remaining damage, and then it will do all of the secondary effects and the ailments. So it does mean that typically the secondary ailments can be wasted because you can target the same enemy multiple times. So you could hit one enemy 3 times or 4 times, and typically what that means is that the ailments are wasted because they override each other. It is a little bit different for Zodiac, and we'll get into all of that a little bit later in the review. But the other thing that is typically characterizing of multi-hitters is that you can waste damage. So if a target dies from one of the earlier random hits, you can end up with a situation where there is actually an excess of damage dealt to a target. So more damage than what their HP actually is. And those are kind of the risks that you run with a multi-hitter. So yeah, in terms of where Zodiac ranks, so I did explain attack power, so it's his attack stat multiplied by the percentage in his skill, and we can see that Zodiac actually comes out as the best multi-hitter in the game, actually overtaking the reigning champion in variant Emma to take out the top spot. So you can see the attack power for Zodiac, it does come out as 1,757. So that is quite a considerable amount of singular attack power. But then he does 5 strikes of that. So we take that, multiply by 5, and then divide by the 11 tiles. And we come out with the attack power per tile shown there of 798. So it is a bit of a step up from the previous best in variant Emma. And you can see that there is quite a spread of the attack power per tile for multi-hitters. You know, you've got the best ones at the top there that are kind of that 700 bracket. Then you've got a middle tier that's about, 450 to 600. And then you've got the ones down the bottom end of the spectrum as well. So there is a lot of range and a lot of breadth in terms of the damage output, but we can see that Zodiac there comes in as the number one of the multi-hitters in the game, just from his damage output alone. Most of this is resultant from, having 5 strikes. 5 strikes is kind of their second best. The only one that's better is Emma. So there is a lot of strikes going on in his skill, but he's also got a very high percentage. The only hero that actually has a higher percentage of the multi-hitters is Giselle. In terms of the multiple hits of the strongest damage. So it does push him very high up that list. So you can see others in that list. We talked about variant Emma there at 757, Tightwire at 736, Emma normal at 550, and so on down the list there. So yeah, quite a good damage dealer in that regard. His charge cut is the next item that we'll take a look at. So it reduces the charge of the targets by 12%. So it does say target singular, but what it actually does is it applies to all hit enemies. So I did get this confirmed. So you do 5 shots out, so you do 5 instances of the minus 12%. I say it so often with these reviews. Charge control is like the be all and end all. Like it's one of the best, if not the best effect that you can get in a hero's special skill, because it just works so well in so many facets of the game. There's not actually a large number of charge cutters, so heroes that cut the charge of enemy heroes. There are actually only 9 5-star heroes, including Zodiac, but there's 14 in total when you include the 4 and the 3-star heroes. Half of these 14 are single target only. The other half are obviously AoE, but Zodiac is the only one that is a multi-hitting charge reducing hero, so he is quite unique in that regard. The percentage that he comes out as, if you take all 5 hits doing minus 12%, it ends up being a 60% charge reduction, which is consistent with other AoE hitters. You know, you've got ones like Dragon Fist and Attk. They do 20% to 3 enemies, which is 60%. Groll also does 15% to 5 enemies, which again is 60%. So there is a bit of consistency amongst, 15 by 5 is not 60, it's 65%? No? 45. So yeah, close. Anyway, so it is fairly consistent in terms of the percentage. There are a couple that do more. So you've got Lumi and Torrent do 105%, so they're 35% to 3 enemies. And Dapper Santa does 330%. So he is consistent with other multi-hitters, I would say. What the big difference between Zodiac, though, and other charge cutters is that with those other AoE hitters, they do drop off in their effectiveness when heroes start dying. You know, so you take the tank out and suddenly you're not able to get 3 times 20% on Dragon Fist, you're only able to get 2 times 20%. Whereas Zodiac, by being a multi-hitter, he'll always do out all of the charge cut. He'll always do all 5 instances of charge cut. What is also actually quite interesting that I saw tested was that Zodiac, even when a hero dies from the damage, they still take the charge cut. So this has quite an interesting application for revived heroes. So warfighters or heroes like Xenia that can revive heroes, they will, even if they die from the damage, they'll still take the charge cut. So when they're revived back into the battle, they come back without their full amount of charge. So it is a nice little thing against someone like, I don't know, Gladius. He might revive, or a Yumi, and they might revive with, instead of it being 100% charge, they actually revive with, you know, 12% less or 24% less, as the case may be. So quite an interesting, nifty little extra piece of information. The final part of his skill is the poison. So the targets receive 264 damage over 4 turns. This effect stacks. So not a lot to say about the ailment or the poison itself. It is poison damage. It's a damage over time effect, so it can be cleansed, blocked, resisted, reflected, or converted to healing. All of those things do work, as is the case with all DOT ailments. What is quite interesting is that the magnitude is actually quite low at 264. You know, typically for a 5-star hero, you'd be expecting to see like 309. And it is even lower because it's spread over 4 turns. So it comes out as being just a 66 damage per tick, which is very low, particularly for a 5-star hero. It is, however, very much mitigated by the fact that it says this effect stacks. And that stacking is actually quite interesting because it operates the same way as the Master Weapon Quest or Master Weapon guns do. So doing multiple strikes on the same target will not overwrite previous poisons. It will actually stack multiple ailments onto that one hero. So it will apply a discrete instance of the poison ailment onto those heroes, which is very, very different from all of the other DOT or what normal DOT effects do, such as poison, burn, bleed, and all of that. Typically with them, or what happens with those, is that the latest ailment replaces all previous ones. You only get the one poison ailment. Whereas Zodiac will apply multiple of them. It is also interesting, it shares exactly the same icon as the Master Weapon poison guns, so you might get a little bit confused by that. Probably not, because nobody ever really looks at that other than me, but that is just an interesting little thing. What is actually quite different, though, about Zodiac compared to the Master Weapon guns is that Master Weapon guns, when they're equipped to a multi-hitter, they need multiple casts of the special skill to apply multiple ailments. So someone like Vittoria with the bleed gun, even if she targets the same enemy 2 or 3 times, they will only get the one bleed stack. You actually need to fire multiple times Vittoria's skill to get that stack going. Zodiac, on the other hand, will apply his poison ailment off just the one cast onto multiple enemies, which is a little bit different. It'll be really interesting to see, and I'm pretty certain I know how it'll go, but if you combined Zodiac with the Mammoth burn gun from 4-star and yellow, because what I'm pretty certain will happen is Zodiac's poison will apply multiple times from the one cast to an enemy, but the Master Weapon gun will only apply one burn to an enemy from the cast. So yes, I have raised this with SGG. Yes, they say it is working as intended, which seems a little bit counterintuitive and dumb to me, but anyway, that's by the by. So to round out all that discussion about the multiple hits on the same enemy, if you did land all 5 hits on the same target and they didn't die, they would end up with 5 instances of that minus 264 HP bleed over 4 turns, which comes out as being 1,320 HP loss over those 4 turns, or 330 damage per turn, which is a lot of poison damage. So it might be quite useful for something like a War Machine, as getting you some free extra damage going on there. So overall, I think that Zodiac is going to be a very strong and very versatile hero in the game. His damage output on its own makes him a hero that is well worth leveling if you're lucky enough to draw him. You know, we're talking multi-hitters have some of the highest DPE, like damage per tile output in the game, and this is the hero that is the top of that list in terms of the damage per tile from multi-hitters. You then add on all of the extra bonuses of him having a charge cut and a poison that stacks, and the nature of those secondary effects is also really good for Zodiac because they eliminate the downsides or the negatives that multi-hitters typically will have with their secondary elements. So typically, as I said at the start, multi-hitters lose their effects when they hit the same enemy multiple times. But Zodiac is going to do all of the charge cut and the poison element stack. So it makes him a very unique, but also a very versatile and a very strong hero, I think, into the game. So for Zodiac's grading, I'm going to give him an A grade for War and Raid attacks. I think he's going to be strong. There's no way around that. I think he's going to be a very useful hero. And the fact that his charge cut will always apply does give him so much usability as either a part of a color stack with someone like 8-bit, or as a standalone hero just as an off-color, you know, damage dealer and charge control hero. So very useful hero, I think, for War and Raid attacks. On the War Machines, I'm going to drop him down to a B+. He could possibly be higher. Multi-hitters do work quite well, but it's mostly the fact that he doesn't do anything specific for War Machines that has stopped him from going higher. He does still have some good DPT, damage per tile, as well as good secondary effects, so he is staying as a B+ on War Machines. In the events, I'm going to give him an A grade for eventing. Multi-hitters are the best facet, like the best thing for eventing. Yellow has 8-bit, which makes it an even better combination. And then you've got the DOT and the charge control will help you if you are just going for a completion or even some of the competition value as well. So very good hero there. So an A grade for eventing. On the War and Raid defense side of things, so I'm going to give him an A grade here as well. I think flank or wing is his best position. I personally think flank is best, but multi-hitters tend to be like snipers, where they tend to get relegated further out and into the wing position. So he still will be usable there, but I think flank would be his priority spot, but wing would be also acceptable as well. So A grade for defense applications. In our 3 tournament settings, so we've got Bloody Battles up front, so I'm going to give him an A grade on attack and an A grade on Bloody Battle defense. DOT tends to become more powerful because you get less cleansers, because a lot of the cleansing is tied to healers, which are prohibited, so I'm going to keep him at an A and an A for the Bloody Battle tournaments. In the buff boosters, I'm going to knock him down a slight bit because he doesn't have any buffs that he's kicking out. He does just create damage and elements, so I'm going to give him an A- on buff booster attack and a B+ on buff boosted defense. Finally, in our charge tournament setting, he does get a bit of a speed improvement. He does go from 47 speed up to 65 speed, so it is quite a bit of a speed improvement on that front of things. So I am going to give him an A grade on attack and an A grade on charge tournament defense. So overall for Zodiac's grading, that comes out as being an overall A- for his attack grade and an A for his overall defense grade. And that about concludes the content that I have for this review of Zodiac. As always, these are just my personal thoughts and opinions on these heroes. I do love hearing your thoughts and feedback on these heroes, so please do drop down to the comment section of the video, leave me a note. I try to read and respond as much as possible. If you did enjoy the content of this video and found it to be good, useful, helpful and all of that, feel free to like the video, subscribe to my channel and everything, but definitely share the video around as well, because chances are, if this sort of thing's useful for yourself, it's also going to be useful to people you play with as well. Thank you once again for tuning in and joining me. I do hope I will see you again soon, but until then, good luck, stay safe, and happy gaming. Cheers, bye!